So welcome everybody. Alicia, do you see us, or Ann, do you see us? Or
I'm getting on Facebook.
I think, oh yeah, she said yes.
Ann, okay, Ann wins.
Ann gives us a thumbs up. Well, welcome everybody to Friday Further X, FFX for short, a place and space for us to be able to gather and join together like-minded individuals, educators who love the earth and want to teach our students to love it just the same, and if not more. And so we have several special guests here with us today. We have Melissa Blair Tracy, and we have Blade Shepherd Jones coming to us digitally. I will have a video of his presentation, and we have Jill Niederberger from Lindblad Expeditions here, our naturalist for the day. So we are so excited for you to join us. And so let's see here. I was going to kick us off with a little like identification game just to get us going for the day. We're going to just real quick, if you can, I'm going to put the instructions in the chat, and it's just a quick getting like a icebreaker, I guess you could say, right? Nice little icebreaker. So what we're going to do here on this particular starter is you're going to scroll down, and there are 4 botanical specimens under the heading A Closer Look. And you're going to examine the 4 alpine specimens and determine which of the 4 species was collected on Mount Washington. Okay? And just the name, just the botanical name would be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the chat for you. And just to get our minds going, our minds started, let's see if we could get somebody to answer that for us. And I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. Remember, you're looking for the species that is on Mount Washington or identified on Mount Washington. So there we go. Just to get your brains going for today. It's a Friday. We're tired. We've been teaching all day, right? All week long. Some of us have had spring break though. So very interesting. I am just starting spring break today. Some of us are on our last day of spring break though. Anybody on their last day of spring break? Oh, darn. So we're starting it off, and let's see here. Yes, good job, Gabriel. Nice, Gabe. Yay, you're quick, man.
I like plants.
Oh, good. That's a good thing. We all like to have our outdoor species that we appreciate, and today we're going to learn about some of those. First up, we have a presentation from Blade Shepherd Jones. And so Blade is still teaching right now. He is in Hawaii. So Hawaii time, you all know Hawaii time is a little bit 3 hours different. So it's like maybe 1 something there, right? And so he's still in the classroom right now, but he decided to do a pre-recording with us, and I'll go ahead and share my screen, and we will take it away with our first presenter, okay? So let me share this. There we go. Hey, everybody. All right, so we're here with Blade Shepherd Jones in Kailua, Hawaii. Did I say that correctly, Blade?
Pretty close. You're very good, yeah.
All right. And he's a 2019 Grosvenor Teacher Fellow. Just a really cool dude. And Blade, why don't you tell us about your school, the students you teach, the grade level, and its location.
Hello, everyone. My name is Blade Shepherd Jones. I am a middle school science teacher at Waimanalo Elementary Intermediate. I teach on the middle school side, so I have grades usually 6, 7, and 8. Our school is a predominantly rural, kind of socio-economically challenged organization. Many of these kids, unfortunately, don't come from the best home life. So giving them that extra love and giving them that extra attention is so critical with our school and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I hear that you had a project called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the things that the students were able to learn about by being involved in this project?
Sure thing. So, I mean, we're in Hawaii. We're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Many of these kids, especially with their Hawaiian background, I mean, the beach is life. They fish there, they surf there, they go canoeing there. I mean, that's what they do after school. They go to the beach. So it's so critical. And even though we see, trash on the beach, I don't think these kids had any clue whatsoever that this is a huge problem, that marine debris, especially plastic, is this, gargantuous issue that just never crossed their heads, even though in Hawaii, we're almost like ground zero for its effects. So just opening their eyes up to this and everything. And, we discussed, and how I started the entire lesson was, there's this unfortunately, a great photo of this albatross just full of plastic out of its stomach. Mm-hmm. And we talk about I showed this photo and we just talked, they have questions about it. We have a community discussion. It was a P4C activity, just to have, answer these questions and have them make their own assumptions and inquiry what happened. Then I get into plastic, mm-hmm. and we learn about it. We learn about the ocean currents. We learn that this is a huge problem across the entire Pacific Ocean. And what are some of the solutions of that? And what we kind of do is the culmination, the magnum opus of this entire thing is we go out and we collect some trash, predominantly from the beach, but these kids kind of have a choice of where they want to go to collect marine debris. We bring it back and they make something to hopefully build awareness. And I'll try to get one popped up ready to go. I'll give an example. Okay. Screen. So do we see that right there?
Oh, wow. Look at that.
So that's an example of, this is just marine debris they picked up. A lot of these kids got their friends and families involved and put a lot of marine debris, and then they made some animal that's affected mm-hmm. by marine debris. Mm-hmm. So obviously a reef fish there. Let's see if I can pull up another one. A turtle. Obviously honus are a huge big deal in Hawaii. Wow. Some of the kids even chose parts of the island. So this is look at this. This is one of the Hawaiian Islands, and just kind of an idea of a map right there.
Wow.
Another turtle right there. I think I've got a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
And just and then we shared them out. The kids could share with each other and present. A lot of these sculptures, not only were they just in the classroom, but we went to the lower elementary side.
Wow.
And shared them off. We one of our sister elementary schools we took it to, and we shared it off. I worked with a few organizations, and hang on, I'll pull it up real quick. Here we are. So this is a Slick Park. It's an aquarium, and they actually kids marine debris, and they have an exhibit.
Yeah.
All the kids marine debris art to help give more awareness. And I contacted some of the local aquariums and other organizations, and they took this and they're going to use this as outreach, hopefully to educate more people about just this horrible problem. And how a lot of kids didn't know plastic is here forever. That was a foreign concept to them.
Right. I love the hashtag take 3 for the
3 for the C.
3 for the C. Hashtag take 3 for the C, and it's the number 3.
Yep.
That's amazing. When I'm out paddleboarding, I feel like we do the same thing. If you see something, you want to pick it up.
I totally agree with you. Every time I go to the beach, I try to do that. So not only we kind of did a practice version of this. We did a campus cleanup, and they organized, and of course, what's most of the trash? Plastic. Mm-hmm. And then we broke that up into the bigger, going to the local community. So the kids liked it. I've done this for a couple of years. I've always had great outreach, either sharing this on social media with other conservative organizations, reaching out to some of the local aquariums and organizations to take it. And they've done lessons with it too now. I know White Nature Company, I gave some of ours. And that summer they did a program. They went out and they collect trash. They made their own sculptures.
Wow. What a way to motivate students to see how these particular materials are affecting our planet and a whole ecosystem that, sometimes is forgotten about because it's underwater, and we don't realize mm-hmm. that it's, people don't realize that there's this vibrant life, under the water that we have to think of. And so that's really neat that you're able to bring your students into the fold of understanding the relevance of the things that they use on a daily basis. So you kind of answered the next question about how are you helping your students tell this story to their community. And so being able to, you said featured in museums as well?
Correct. Yeah, some of the local museums and organizations, aquariums, conservatory, things. A lot of it was social media. Reach out to social media and say, oh yeah, give us a link to your photos, and we'll push it on our social media. which was great. And to kind of add to the story, not only are the kids learning about this issue and choosing some animal they appreciate and enjoy, but I made the kids also have to tell the Hawaiian name of these animals too. For a lot and once again, the kids are pretty knowledgeable of the Hawaiian names, but some of the kids just don't know it. So classic one I have right here is a turtle or in Hawaiian honu.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool then to pull some more of their cultural aspects. And on top of that, a lot of these kids, I mean, in Hawaiian culture, you have what's called an amamakua.
Okay.
It's kind of like a guardian animal spirit you have in your family. It's a very simplistic way of explaining it. So obviously, you know, a turtle, a shark, an octopus may be very important in their lineage. So that would be a honu, mano, or he'e are really important in the lineage. So, you know, for them to make this sculpture kind of presenting both an animal they care about, but also their Hawaiian culture is really, you know, you're tying a lot of things together and then giving them a voice to share out this information.
How powerful is that, especially the cultural connection that they have with what they're creating? I really am motivated by this actually for other teachers are going to see this and be able to build off of your experience and the experience of the students. That's really great. So I'm going to switch gears here a little bit, and you yourself, I call it you're morphing into your amphibian state, but you love to dive and you have some great underwater footage. How do you bring that into your classroom and to motivate your students?
So one of the big things I like to cover a lot, and thank you, is sharks. I mean, unfortunately, they get a huge negative rap. And even some of my kids, once again, these kids are in the water. Some of these kids, their amamakua is a shark, a mano in Hawaiian. But a lot of kids, it's still a negative. You know, they see a shark, they freak out. And I love showing them photos like you see behind me. Guys, I was with those guys. And yet, here are all my fingers still intact.
Yeah.
And, you know, just kind of, you know, showing them that these aren't these mindless, that they are very amazing, beautiful apex predators. Don't get me wrong, and they deserve our respect and understand them, but they're not these mindless killing machines. And we talk about that a lot. And we use, once again, P4C, and we first get it out there, like all the negatives. And most of the time, the kids see the sharks in a very negative view. And as we learn more about it, we talk about, there's a great documentary called Shark Water. I've enjoyed showing the kids a lot. It really helps break down the stereotypes. And it's great then after all that, have our discussion again, and how these kids now love sharks and want to save these sharks. And then also they see the importance not only the ecosystem, but into Hawaiian culture and story and legend too. And it makes them just more aware. And I just love doing that.
And I love that it's, like you said, the familial ancestry has a particular animal that is connected to it for many of the cultures that you teach. And so I wonder if the students who, you know, have the shark possibly as their family lineage, you know, really feel a better connection, of course, because of your stories.
You do. Mm-hmm. And even some of my breed kids. I mean, I grade some great kids. And there's always not my highest flyers, you know, the bare bones, but it's amazing. Some of these kids, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And a lot of these kids, okay, you have 2 weeks to do this. And I get back the next day. I'm like, wow, this is impressive, man. You had tons of time to do this. And I've had a few kids that aren't my, you know, your high academic kids. I'm like, this definitely was a voice for them to share. And I obviously, you know, let home know, and some of these kids, hey, you're gonna go to elementary, you're gonna tell elementary about this stuff. Or hey, can I keep this and give this to a museum, which I will let you know. I'll tell them, hey, you know, Bishop Museum took your art piece.
Well, amazing.
It's definitely this little positive point. And I remember I had one kid, and I forget which art it was, but I remember talking to the parent, like, oh yeah, so, you know, it was really cool. I like this party play because we went to, you know, Waimanalo Beach, which is my son's favorite beach. But then we went to a beach at the mom liked, which was all the way, I think it was Eva Beach. So they went to 2 separate beaches that had a big meaning to them. And I was like, wow, that's awesome that you guys chose 2 different locations that had this big meaning to you. Yeah. And even if it was a few pieces of trash, that's better than nothing. And it just, it was like, wow, this definitely resonated with quite a few of the families.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool because it's just a connection. You even bring the family members in with it. I mean, it's not just the students, but they transfer that information actually to their families. A lot of times, things that we do in class gets to be heard out in the whole family. So, well, Blade, I have one more question to ask you in honor of Earth Day. The question for this episode is, where is your favorite place on Earth, and why is it important to love it?
I'd say it's the ocean. As you mentioned, I'm part amphibian. I love, whether I'm surfing, paddleboarding, scuba dive, I just love being in the water. Mm-hmm. And the ocean connects us all together. We are one ocean. And I try to push to my students, and I see it too. You know, why do we care about what's happening in Svalbard or Antarctica or, you know, Uganda? these places, some of these kids may never see in their lives. And no, that's fair, but we're so interconnected. What we do to help them out helps us. And if these people help us, we're all helping. If we help each other out, the world's a better place because it's interconnected. There's no way around that right now.
Right.
And I think a lot of these kids, especially with Hawaiian wayfinding and navigation, we are connected, and we have to not just care what's in our own backyard, but what's in the entire world, and knowing by protecting someone else in a foreign place, we are still protecting us. And I'll leave with one last thing. So I have a good friend of mine. He's Lebanese by birth. He actually works in Benin, Africa. And he took a trip to Zanzibar, Tanzania. And while he was scuba diving there, he found a hat from a local Hawaii golf course underwater.
No way.
And I thought it was hilarious. I showed it to the kids. We talk about it, like, how does this hat get here, you know?
Right.
And we have all different theories. And I don't know how it got there, but once again, it shows you this is trash from Hawaii.
Yes.
It got all the way to Zanzibar on the east coast of Africa.
Yeah. It went through the Pacific, through the Indian.
Yeah.
All the way across.
All the way there.
Oceans.
And it shows you why it's important. We got to be careful and have to take care of everything.
So true.
And and I love all the theories of how it happened. I don't know how it got there, but still, it came from Hawaii and ended up there. And it's just how we got to, just once again, how interconnected we are. We are global citizens.
What a message for how we should love our earth. So thank you so much, Blade. We appreciate your time, and happy swimming.
Thank you so much. Aloha and a hui ho.
All right, that was great. Clapping for Blade. I know he's still in class. It is 1:17 in Hawaii, but thank you so much to our Hawaiian brothers and sisters who are our family, our Nat Geo family. And so thank you for joining us, Blade. And so just to kick off, that was just our kind of like the kickoff to our Earth Month, really, right? And really, we like to celebrate Earth Day 365 days a year, as far as I'm concerned. I think, there's some type of spark that we have, like I said, that interconnectedness that we, just love our planet, but we want to make sure we teach our students how to appreciate it as well. And it doesn't matter how old our students are. It could be from, birth to 80s, 90s year olds. But, having them have that commitment to their planet is so important. But for one day a year, it can also be interpreted as the largest civic event in the world, which is Earth Day. So our planet gets some recognition for its hard work in keeping us maintained and sustained. And we, appreciate that. And so we want to make sure that we highlight that as well. All right, our next guest is going to be Melissa Blair Tracy. And Melissa, if you want to come on, and I'm going to go ahead and change my view here so that we can see our speakers. And so Melissa, if you would like to come on real quick. And by the way, let's see, you're 2019 GTF, am I correct on that?
Yes.
All right. And tell us where you're located, what grade you teach, and where did you travel to for your expedition?
Okay, so I traveled to Galapagos for my expedition. I currently teach in Wilmington, Delaware. I teach at a K through 12th grade dual language Greek school. So we're one of only a few Greek schools in the country. So all of our students are required to pursue a pathway in Greek language studies. And I will also preface that by saying that majority of our students who attend our school I would say at least 60% are students of color. Most of them have no Greek ancestry, any Greek background. So they are afforded a really unique opportunity to learn a second language starting in kindergarten. I currently teach 9th through 12th grade, and I teach a little bit of everything. So I teach everything ranging from African-American history to human geography to US history. I teach a food studies course, which will be a pathway next year. I helped run our urban farm program with our goats and chickens on our urban campus. And I also teach a history of rock class titled From Charlie Patton to Beyonce. So I kind of overindulged in a little bit of everything, but that suits me. And so I finally found a home where I could be innovative and kind of engage in risk taking. And to be quite honest, when I came to the campus about 4 years ago, I had absolutely no gardening experience and no experience with farm animals.
Really?
It's been a really fun adventure. I always feel like as educators, we're always learning. And so it just felt like an appropriate challenge after a decade in the classroom.
Right, right. So this is your brainchild then, or were you involved with other people? How did you get this garden going? Speaking of your garden.
So any garden is a community effort. So I always hesitate to say that I am like the brainchild and the only person, because it takes quite a few people to run a garden. So really the idea started in 2017. I had just started at the new school, and one of my colleagues said, well, we probably should teach about sustainability. I mean, maybe that's a good thing. Like all kids would benefit from learning about it. Right. And so I came to the meeting, and this is after I'd been on the campus for a couple of weeks. And just to give you perspective, our campus is situated on the side of an old office complex. Like it used to be the property of DuPont. So it is like the last place you'd imagine to be a campus. We don't have a lot of green space. All of our spaces have been retrofitted into classrooms. As a charter school, we don't have access to capital funds. But I just felt like a really good place to start was a garden. So we went about getting some funding. We were able to partner with Healthy Foods for Healthy Kids. And in fact, one of the 2018 Grosvenor Teacher Fellows, Lindsay Lancaster, is affiliated with that organization. So we kind of touched base, and they helped to provide the initial expertise that was needed, because I had no clue what I was doing. Like I'd never grown anything in my lifetime. So that's what I say, that if I can do this, anyone can do it, because I am still learning and figuring stuff out. And so it's always helpful if you want to start up any kind of gardening program, seek out master gardeners, find out if there's a local organization that provides these kind of supports, because it can really make your life a lot easier in the beginning so that you do it right.
Okay.
So we started off with just 8 raised beds, and quickly realized that wasn't enough, because we have 2,000 kids on our campus. So we were barely engaging our K through 5th grade population. So it wasn't enough. So we went from 8 beds, and over the course of the last couple of years, we've expanded from 8 to 34. Wow. So we have about 1,000 square foot garden now. And then we also decided that aside from the raised beds, we would also add some other kind of like approaches to gardening. So we have about like 50 milk crates with liners. And the idea being is that we want all of our kids to realize that anyone can garden. We have kids that come from all parts of our county. And some kids come from very disadvantaged neighborhoods where they don't have a backyard. They have limited access to green space. But we want a kid to recognize that you can do container gardening. If you have a milk crate, you can plant something from seed. So we model that for the children in that garden space. And then we also added a large vertical garden. At this point, we have close to 250 planters. And what's great about the planters, and I'll show what they look like, is it enables kids to experiment. One thing I always share with students is when you garden, you will sometimes fail. And that's part of the learning process, and it's okay to fail. If you try something out and it doesn't grow, that's okay. Right. So one of the things that we have recognized through this whole process is that we've really been truly able to create community. So our K through 5th graders are exposed to a traditional curriculum where each grade does a different facet of the garden. Then once kids get to middle school, we have an amazing culinary arts teacher who has piloted a culinary arts program taught through a Greek lens. So they're exposed to Greek culture and they're cooking food from the garden. And then once they get to me, they're learning about food systems. Okay. They literally get the whole K through 12th grade curriculum. And we now have a food studies pathway, which is an interdisciplinary pathway. We're the only school probably in the region to offer it. Mm-hmm. And it's not a traditional ag program, but that's kind of the point, because right. I feel like sometimes with our very traditional ag programs, kids get left out. Right. And so we want our students to recognize that you don't have to have fancy spaces. Like you can have goats and chickens and have an urban campus. Mm-hmm. And all kids, regardless of their background, should have access to nature, to gardens, as well as to animals, and that there are so many therapeutic and social emotional benefits as well.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I'll share is, so we started growing food outside. We were growing so much of it that we were in a place where we could donate it, because our kids could just not consume all the food that we were growing. So then we just started donating to a community in need. And we kept the garden going even during COVID, but then realized that there were gaps in the season. Like we stopped growing come November. So then we went about creating a whole program inside. So I literally retrofitted my whole classroom to hydroponically grow leafy greens. So every month we grow about 3,500 leafy greens, and we donate 100% of it.
Wow.
And so that's part of our food justice curriculum.
Is that that's inside? That's the inside growing.
And I don't have access. Like I literally hook up a hose outside of my classroom. I don't have a fancy lab or set up, but we've been able to kind of put together, you know, a program for students, and the kids love it.
Oh,
and we have kids who maybe haven't had a successful academic experience, but for the first time, they're enjoying the satisfaction of growing something from seed.
Exactly.
And there's like a tremendous amount of accomplishment attached to it.
I mean, that's amazing that they are able to cook with it in another class. You know, I was going to ask you that question. What is your favorite thing to grow and also eat and cook with?
I love everything. I love exposing kids to different types of greens that they maybe have never had before, things like mustard greens, whatever it may be. And I also try to drive home for students this idea that cooking doesn't have to be pretentious. So one of my favorite things to make with kids is Miss Tracy's bougie ramen. Ramen with like healthy greens and stuff like that.
Bougie ramen. I love it.
Bougie ramen. And the kids love it. And what's so exciting is when a kid can go home, even if they have, you know, access to limited items in their pantry, and they can still cook and make something. And, you know, one of the things we realized is we were growing all this amazing fresh greens, but if it wasn't something that was part of someone's culture, then they may not know how to utilize it, or they may not know what are the nutritional benefits of eating chard, kale, etc. So as part of our programming, our students actually create cooking demos for our families in need. So whenever they get produce, the students actually instruct them, like, here's how you can go about preparing them. And they assemble really simple meal kits so that the families get everything they need. We don't make any assumptions about what they have, aside from maybe having access to a single stovetop and a pan. Wow. But we give them olive oil, we give them garlic, like anything that they would need to make a really nutritious meal. And the feedback that we've received from families, I mean, many families have said that just having access to leafy greens is huge, because when you go to a food pantry, oftentimes you don't have access to those things. Right. And then our students, we, you know, intentionally partner with majority organizations led by oftentimes women of color, or people that are in the community that maybe don't have access to as many resources or large grants, but they're doing amazing work. So we do things like pop-up markets, because people oftentimes don't have access to transportation. We try to serve communities that maybe are undocumented. Again, these are people who are not going to go to the Food Bank of Delaware.
Right.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But everyone should have access to healthy food. So that's also kind of embedded in part of our curriculum. And especially in light of everything that's happened in the last year, but really has been happening for hundreds of years, I try to generate awareness, this idea that racial justice is food justice, and they're all connected to each other.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
So the best way for my students to develop an understanding and appreciation for other cultures, and to develop a connection with particularly the people that reside in our city, who oftentimes are written about very negatively, you know, in the newspaper, et cetera, is to really add that human element. And we do that through food.
Yes. Yeah. That's connection. That builds connection. Food does. Wow. What an amazing story, Melissa, your work and your dedication to your community, and making sure that our students know not just the basics, but expand on more, you know, of how we're all interconnected. Very similar to how Blade said, you know, we all make a ripple, right? We all have this thing that we contribute to. And so it's amazing to be able to hear that your students are contributing in such a great way in their community and giving back at the same time, not just learning, but giving back, literally giving back. So
You want me to share a couple quick pictures?
Sure. Go for it.
Okay. Sorry. Let me just switch. Where was my? It's not letting me present. Hold on.
Oh, down there at the bottom.
Yeah, I was like, where? I can't.
Where are those icons?
Yeah, I know. So this is kind of what was our original starting point. So we've actually added additional vertical planters. They're made by a company called Wally Grow, and they're made out of recycled materials. Okay. But they're really easy to attach to chain link fence. With our programming, we're hoping that we can be a model, particularly for under-resourced schools.
Right.
And so some schools may not have the funds, the space, et cetera, to have a garden with raised beds, for example, but they could start with planters.
Yeah.
So we have that. And then here you can see some of the students are planting some beets in our milk crates. Mm-hmm. And these are second graders.
Look at that.
And you can see an up close. And we run our garden even during the summertime.
Oh, good. That's what I was wondering. Is it year round?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we did it this last summer. Was the first summer that we started to run it, just out of necessity because of what was happening with COVID. And we felt like if we could feed families, we should do that. Right. So we offered a free garden share to our families and to our community. But this year we envisioned just having families come in and help to maintain the garden.
Wow.
And then this is part of the indoor space. So these are my students. We also offer an extracurricular club called Girls Grow Greens. Oh. So oftentimes women are underrepresented in ag. So this kind of gives them a taste of like a future job or opportunity.
Wow. You're making me hungry.
Yeah. And this is just some of the beautiful lettuce that we grow, and we provide it to our families 100% for free. We also do sometimes harvest whatever we grow hydroponically for our cafeteria program. So here you can see some of our cafeteria staff in here harvesting some of our lettuce.
Nice.
And some of our students in here working in the lab space. And then when I talked about, so this is just from, this might only be like 300 or 400 greens. So if you can imagine, we grow about 3,500 every month.
Wow. And
it's a beautiful variety of greens. And then we put together meal kits. And here you can see some of these meal kits actually getting delivered. Mm-hmm. Yep, so I'll stop this share.
That's amazing. I tell you, first of all, I kind of want a salad. Secondly, though, it's just amazing to see the effort that is put into getting these students to grow something on their own. Like a lot of them don't get to have that. And like you said, it's very important to be able to have them, they have ownership of this, they're successful at it. And this is a career, that they are learning really. And that's just, it's an amazing, amazing opportunity.
And the last thing I will share with students and how this all relates to what is, Earth Day and everything else is obviously something like hydroponics is not the singular solution for feeding people. And there are pros and cons to growing things hydroponically. And we definitely have those discussions in class. But one thing I share with students is, how are we going to go about feeding an ever-growing global population and doing it in the most sustainable way possible?
Yeah, yeah.
And one simple starting point is for people to garden.
Yeah, it is. And that leads me to my question of the day. In honor of Earth Day, what is or where is your favorite place on Earth, and why is it important to love?
That's a good question. So probably my favorite place is anywhere in the mountains. Mm-hmm. I just like having that opportunity to retreat. Prior to kids, I used to do a lot of hiking.
Yes. Yeah.
But I used to go to the mountains a lot, but now one of my favorite things to do with my children is just to go on short exploratory walks with my kids. There are some beautiful trails where we live in the city. Nice. And I think anywhere that I am with my kids
is the place.
It's the place. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's
my hope is that my children will develop a love for nature and be afforded opportunities that maybe I didn't have growing up.
Oh yeah. And then put a pack on their back. They might hike it out. You never know. They're good.
I did take my daughter hiking in the Smokies when she was like 1 year old. We went on like on a 15-mile hike.
Wow.
I was so traumatized from it. I'm like, never again.
When they get older, though, it'd be nice. All right. Well, thank you so much, Melissa. We appreciate you sharing your story with us. And, we look forward to seeing what the future holds. You can follow Melissa on Twitter, right? At LISSL Blair, BLAIR. And I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat. And one more thing I'm going to put in the chat, because I'm going to pimp this for you, Melissa. Melissa's garden is up for a
yes. I'm always hustling for money.
Vote. You got to get that grant fund. I shortened it up a little to a bit.ly link. And so she has till April 7th. So go ahead and pimp that vote. That's what I like to say, right? Because she cares for the garden and cares for her students, and the students care for the community, and she cares for the community. So
it really ultimately benefits the kids. It really does benefit our community.
Oh yeah, it's the community. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again, Melissa. I'm going to give you our virtual clap. Here we go. Thank you. And we're going to swap on over to our next guest, which is Jill Niederberger from Lindblad Expeditions, our naturalist for the evening. And just to give you a little bit, about Jill. Jill's an aquatic biologist, if I'm correct, an expedition leader and naturalist for Lindblad Expeditions, ocean lover. What else can I say? My goodness, environmental conservationist, activist, all the ists. We got them. So
all the ists.
So let's welcome Jill. Jill, why don't you tell us? Let's see. We'll start with where you are and why, or when did you know you wanted to be an educator of all things marine and just general good info on the environment?
Yeah, definitely. So I actually just moved into a new place. I am in San Diego right now. And that's why I gave you this lovely virtual background of somewhere much better than my currently unpacked, messy room.
That's okay.
When I was really little, I wanted to be a vet. And then I saw one of those like emergency vet TV shows. I don't know if you remember those, but I did not realize that being a vet meant like cutting open the animals that I liked. So I was like, never mind, not for me. And then my family did a road down Big Sur in California. And I remember tide pooling and seeing crabs and being like marine biologist. And I was 10.
Yep.
So I made that choice and I stuck with it. And then I went to UC Santa Barbara, and they don't have a marine biology degree. They have an aquatic biology degree, which includes freshwater. So marine is specifically salt. Mm-hmm. So I just know about also lakes and streams and things like that. It's not that much different. I just, like to sound nerdier by saying aquatic because that's technically my degree. And when I was studying for my undergrad, I worked, if you've ever been to the campus at UCSB, there is a very small, like mini aquarium. It's called the Reef. And Reef actually stands for Research Experience Education Facility. No, Research Education Experience Facility. It's been a long time since I was there. And they host school programs anywhere from like preschool all the way up to grad school. And so I worked there as kind of a naturalist / aquarist where, I had to monitor the oxygen and everything in the tanks and clean the tanks, but also if field trips or classes from even UCSB came in, we would be the ones we could, hold the sharks. And there was a mantis shrimp at one time, which was terrifying and broke one of my coworkers' fingers. And when I was doing that, I had tutored in high school and I'm good at teaching, but I never really wanted to be a teacher. Like, honestly, props to all of you who do things in a formal education setting. I could not do it. And then in this informal setting where we're hands-on and the people there just generally are really, really interested in pretty much everything we're talking about, that was my first real look at something outside of teaching in a classroom. And I have done something along those lines ever since. So that's kind of right where I started.
That's amazing. You are an educator. So that's the key, right? We're all in the same profession here, education. So that sounds exciting though. Your start sounds amazing. I love Santa Barbara. I mean, who doesn't?
If I could afford to live there, I would have moved to Santa Barbara, but here we are.
Oh yeah. No worries. I understand. So what is your most memorable experience while out on expedition? And maybe tell us about maybe some of your expeditions that you've been on, but your most memorable experience.
All right, so starting with the most memorable, one of my favorites is, it's a thing that we do every time if we're going to a very specific landing on South Georgia Island. So just a little bit of context for our Antarctica trips. Currently, we're working on new ones starting from different locations, but we normally start from South America. So either from Argentina or Chile, depending on which end you're at. And then some of them just go straight to the Antarctic Peninsula, spend 10 to 14 days there. Others get 2-3 weeks, and you also get to go to the Falkland Islands, which are a British territory off of Argentina. And then you go to South Georgia Island, which are sub-Antarctic islands. So you get penguins, you get elephant seals, you get fur seals, you get all that stuff. And so those crossings, there's, I believe, 2 days in between Ushuaia and the Falklands, and then another 3 or 4 days in between the Falklands and South Georgia. And so during those days at sea, the expedition leader will start setting the ship clock back an hour and forward an hour, so that we are waking up earlier than we normally do. And we do it very casually, so that when we get to a specific landing, it's called Gold Harbor. And the reason it's called Gold Harbor is this doesn't happen every day, but on the perfect mornings where the sunrise is just right, it's an east-facing harbor. It's an east-facing bay that has elephant seals, rookery. It has king penguins, and it'll have fur seals depending on the time of year. So elephant seals at the beginning, fur seals at the end, and this glacier up above it. And we get there at 4 o'clock in the morning, which is really like 1 a.m. or so by the time we've done we wake up at 4 o'clock. That's our wake up call. But realistically, if we were actually in, what would that be, Argentina time? It would be 1 o'clock in the morning. We are waking up, we are going to shore, and we are watching the sunrise with elephant seal pups and baby king penguins and massive elephant seals, and you just sit there for hours.
Right. Why not? I mean, that's amazing to see.
It just, like, you're speechless. Like, you get there and it's dark and you can't even see, and you're like, is that grass or is that a 8,000-pound seal? And you just sit there for hours, and then you go back to the ship, you eat breakfast, and then you can go and like do a hike or do something active. But for the people who want to wake up, which waking up early in the morning for wildlife is always, it's a no-brainer for me. I am a morning person, but even if I wasn't, I would still do it because I love sunrise. It's my favorite time of day. And yeah, it's indescribable. Like, I'm trying to describe it and it's indescribable.
No, I get that. I had that moment on my expedition. I was like, wow, just early in the morning before anybody else wakes up kind of thing is just the best time of day.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. I mean, I normally work the Pacific and Southern Oceans. So I started out in Alaska, which is where I was a mentor for 2 of these lovely ladies that are here today, Alicia and Noreen. And then we also do trips off the coast of California, and we do trips in Mexico, Baja California. I work as an expedition leader on all of those, and also an expedition diver, depending on what is needed. And then the Southern Ocean, I do the Antarctica trips, which include South Georgia and the Falklands. And there I work as a naturalist. I will not work as an expedition leader down there for hopefully a decade, because while I have the logistical skills, it's another game down there, and I am humbled by it, and I will not be taking on that responsibility until I am good and ready.
It's good that you like to be prepared, though. That's the good thing, and you know what you like to do, and so it's very exciting to hear about, all these adventures. Even if you go down, so you'd still be a naturalist, but you're still engaging with the people who need the information, who are trying to learn about it and gain a good experience. So, I'm sure that you provide a good tutelage each time you're on any expedition. So, because I have heard about the whale PJs even,
my roommate loves them. I broke them out because it's a pandemic. It got weird this last year. And when I walked out in the whale PJs that were gifted to me by Alicia and her other mentees that trip, she said, pause.
Yep.
What is happening?
Sometimes we just have to do things, right? I mean, And then we have to take a moment, reflect on it, and, learn, move.
Yeah, it's fine. Everything's fine.
Good stuff. So if you could be, since your focus is in like aquatics and marine, if you could be any sea creature, what would that be and why?
A mimic octopus.
Ooh, why?
Has anyone heard of a mimic octopus before okay, half yes, half no, perfect. So I actually used this answer at a job interview like way back when I was in college before I did any of this. And it was a really good answer for the interview. But I then told my mom about it and I made her look it up. So after this, you all need to look up YouTube videos of the mimic octopus. This is a very, very tiny little black and white striped octopus that lives in the Indo-Pacific, so tropics, think tropics, and they can shapeshift into anything. So octopus in general have color and textured changing cells all over their body so they can mimic their surroundings in general. But the mimic octopus takes it one step farther where it will mimic other animals. So they will go into a hole in the sand, take 6 of their legs in their body in and stick 2 legs out and look like a sea snake. Wow. They'll swim with all of their legs behind them to look like manta ray. They'll swim with all of their legs out to look like a lionfish. It's amazing.
Amazing, that is.
And when I told my mom to look up the videos, she said for the first time she understood why I wanted to be a marine biologist.
It was all clear.
That octopus, that's the answer.
Great. That is great. Oh my goodness. So where are you? I think you might have mentioned it, but where are you heading next? I think that's
next Alaska. So we did officially announce a relaunch. Finally, June 5th is our first trip starting. I'm not sure if I'm on it yet. We haven't heard about that, but I'll be on Alaska trips in June. And we're starting with Alaska, Galapagos. Those are the 2 easiest to really get our COVID protocols ready and done and dialed in. And then assuming all goes well, Antarctica in November, and then I'll be in Baja for most of the rest of January through March. So, I mean, I've got my fingers crossed because it's supposed to be a great year, but so was last year. But it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
It will. We're gonna stand in faith on that one.
Yeah.
So what is your hope for other educators and students in participating in ocean preservation, since this is our month of Earth?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I like to say it's planet ocean, not planet Earth, since it's mostly ocean.
Mostly water. You're right. You're right.
And I think all the time, anytime, not just, Earth Month or Earth Day, I just want people to find something that inspires them. There's so many things, especially in the ocean. We're always finding weird things. Mm-hmm. There's so many things. There's got to be something for everyone. And if you find something you care about, I know that you can look at humanity and think that we're just doing everything wrong all the time. But I really do believe that the majority of people want good things and want to preserve things. They just might not think it's easy. Mm-hmm. And so, or it's, accessible to them, which is very true for a lot of things. And so with these trips, or even just chatting with people, I just want people to realize their options and get inspired by something to make them want to continue to make the world better, because there's always something. It doesn't have to be in the ocean. It can be in the earth. It can be a family member. It can be a place. It can be a thing. It could be the culture of something. Some cultures that have almost been wiped out that are now trying to make a resurgence. I am so inspired by videos that I'm seeing of throat singing from Native Americans. I'm just that's amazing. I never would have found that through marine biology, and technology is amazing and things like that. I want everyone to be inspired to care and to then take that care and do something with it. Even if it's something small, every small little thing helps.
Yeah. Yeah. You kind of answered the question of the day, which is, your favorite place on Earth, which is Earth and the ocean, I think. Earth is
yeah, if I can say the ocean, that's my answer. Yes.
And why is it important to love? I think you really did explain that. So thank you for, giving us some tools for being ocean advocates and learning new things too, because who knew the mimic octopus, right? Some of us
Seriously, go look it up. It's so cool.
Yeah, I've heard of it, I've seen it, but I didn't know it did like all that. Like,
Oh, yeah.
that's just amazing. So let's see. I think my last question, were there any tips that you could give in your experience with GTFs, Grosvenor Teacher Fellows? Any tips you want to give to our up and comings?
I think I would just say, no question is too dumb. No question is too small. And also, I was so, Noreen's counterpart that year, she talked to the chief engineer on our ship, who is known to hate humans in general, to get him to explain how the water system worked on the ship, because that's what her kids were interested in. And when she told me that she had just gone and done that on her own, and I was like, well, I was supposed to be the middleman, but also Garvin scares me. So thanks for doing that. I was so impressed that she came in knowing what her kids or her community wanted to know. And she came in like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to figure this out, but I'm going to try, and just ask anyone. I mean, especially after a year of us have been able to be on ships, everyone working on those ships wants to help you. We all love our GTFs so much. You guys are so wonderful. And like the conversation is so interesting. Just be forward, be blunt. Go and talk to every staff member. They all have something crazy to share.
They do. They're exciting too. It's fun to talk to all of them. And I'm sure that everybody will have the gift of gab after we get back on.
Yeah, I don't like people in here like running my mouth.
Well, thank you so much, Jill. I'm going to go ahead and put your, it's Captain Nerdberger.
Captain Nerdberger.
There we go. And you are a captain too, right?
Yeah, I have my 100-ton from the U.S. Coast Guard with my sailing and towing endorsements as well. I was a captain before I started working for Lindblad, and I still do dabble when I'm on land.
Wow, that's amazing. Wow. Shout out and kudos, I'm telling you. Girl, drive them ships. Anyway. All right. Well, thank you again, Jill. We appreciate your time. And we just, shout out to Earth Day and Earth Month and Earth Year, because that's what we really should be focusing on, is making sure that we make this 365. So thank you to all of our guests today, Blade Shepherd-Jones, Melissa, Blair Tracy, and Jill Niederberger. We appreciate your time. So we're going to jump over to a little game here. And let's see if some of you can be up for the challenge. Let's see here. Let me share my screen, see if I can get that going. Whose scat is that? Do. I need to make like theme music for these kinds of things, right? Whose scat is that? I want you to get your thinking caps on here, folks. And I want you to think about whose scat that is, because we need to figure this out. Okay, so here we go. First up, whose scat is that? And you can just think in your minds, okay? Think in your minds, and then we're gonna do an all-out chat, we can do a chat competition here if you'd like to. So number one, here is number two. Okay, let me move this out of the way, even though I don't think you all can see that. Here is, this is almost like a Kahoot, yes. Number three. And here is number four. In the chat as fast as you can. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't forget to number your answers and your responses. Sorry, Facebook folks, you're not on there, but at least we got, you're looking at it. You're looking at it. Scat ID right now. Whose scat is that? We got some good stuff here. Let's see here. So far, nobody has all four, but we do have 2 ID'd. All right, number 3. I'm giving that one to you, Tom. How about that number 4? That 4 is a tough one. Give me a 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's see here. I need to have some Jeopardy music playing. I could do it myself. Do, 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 do. Almost there, Jill, with the number 4. Almost. You ready? Are we ready? Are we giving up? Is that bone? Let's see. Inside of number 4, or where are we looking? Not an owl. Think more on the lines of where Jill said. More along the lines of where Jill said. No bone. It's a little damp to be an owl pellet, though. A little damp. Keyword damp. All right, let's test this out. You ready? No, not enough. Hey, Jill. I think you got like the majority. All right, so number 1, bear. 2, coyote. 3, rabbit or hare, and 4, otter minx. Nice work, folks. That was an interesting game there. We had a good run of that. Thank you very much. Whose scat is that? And that's our episode of Whose Scat Is That? The next thing we're going to play, we're going to test some people's ears here. And I want to know if you can name that well. Okay, name that well. All right, here we go. Here's some well sounds. Did you hear it? You want to hear it again? And let me turn it up because it's kind of that deep, low. Let's see. Blue. Jill's getting it, y'all. I'm telling you, our naturalist is on it today. And you were a close second. You were almost there. All right, here we go. Let's try this next one. Hold on, let me get my blue whale out of there. Get the blue whale. That was a hard one. Let's see. Hold on. No, I'm not seeing it. No. We're sort of there, but not there yet. Anybody else want to try? Want to hear it again? Let's try it again. Hold on real quick. Let me see if I can back that up. It is the gray whale. All right, and last but not least, let's see. Here we go. There you go, nice. Yes, that is the humpback. Aren't whale sounds just so calming? Like you could just put on a whale tape and just, I speak whale sometimes. So
it really depends on the whale.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, because some of them are like, you don't want to hear that. Oh, yes, she is. Jill, you dive? Gotta put yourself back on.
Yeah, I'm a dive master, but also marine mammals are my specialty. So, and as Alicia and Noreen know, I have a recap on poop on every single trip. So really, these games were...
Hey. Spot on. All right. Well, I just like that episode of Whose Cat Is That? That just, that's just the hot stuff. Well, we just want to thank you all for joining us today. I think that is like the end of the end. I'm going to go ahead and say so long to our Facebook buddies out there. Thank you, Facebook fam, for joining us today. We appreciate you being here with us, although you couldn't be on our Zoom. Don't forget to sign up for the Zoom. You can always, join us on there. You'll see us for another episode of Friday Further X, first Friday of May. But before we go, Facebook folks and our Zoom family, we have a couple of announcements from Alicia and Ann related to our Educator Explorer Earth Day week coming up. So Alicia, if you want to give us some information on that before we say so long.
Yeah, we are kicking off Educator Explorer Earth Day week. And so our goal is to help educators from pre-K all the way through 12 to gather resources that you guys can use to plan for Earth Day. So next week, every day on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, there will be a Padlet link that we hope you will be willing to post resources. And there's a theme every day. So everything from language arts to music to math and science. So add your stuff, and then we're going to share those out broader to the whole community so teachers can have as many resources and inspiration ideas to plan for Earth Day.
All right. And Anne, do you have any announcements?
Just a very brief one. Monday, April 12th at 7 p.m. Eastern, we will be having a micro PD with Carrie Hines, GTF, and she's going to be talking about drawing in the outdoors, and it will finish with us taking our things wherever we are going out in the outdoors. Now, if you can't come, we are purposely creating these to be enjoyed asynchronously. So, because we realize you all have so much, so we're going to try to push out several before the summer, and so you can have some fun Nat Geo style PD this summer if you can't get to it this spring.
All right. Well, thank you, Anne and Alicia. As always, we appreciate you being on our Zoom fam and our Facebook fam. We appreciate you joining us there virtually. And we look forward to engaging with you over this month of Earth and recognition of Earth and getting those activities out to our students and our populations that we teach. So again, thank you to Facebook. Facebook people, we're going to say so long to you, though, and we're going to Teachers After Dark.